We got our first look at what endgame gameplay will actually look like for Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. We got our first look at some of the higher end gear and how the squad talents are going to work, how the incursion missions will work, how difficulty scales super high, clans, special skills, and the most important feature for all of the haters out there, adjustable UI toggles as well, and much, much more. And we're gonna go over all of it in this video. There will be a ton of info in this video, there was a ton of things to see in this event, so be sure to watch until the end because if you love looter shooters or just love loot games in general, you really will not want to miss out on this game. I gotta say, after watching this live stream event, Rocksteady is cooking. They are doing so many things right. They are basically going through every loot game ever and taking inspiration from each activity, feature, or quality of life update they've ever had, and I am so here for it. So, Rocksteady sponsored a live stream for Suicide Squad on some big channels like Shroud, Dr. Lupo, and Tarek, and with those big streams, we got some amazing info on the endgame, how it will actually work within the game as well. And as we talked about in my previous Suicide Squad video, which will be linked in the card in the top right hand corner of your screen, the endgame is what makes or breaks a looter shooter. We've seen a ton of them get screwed over because they don't have a good endgame, but after watching this live stream and seeing the plans for the endgame that Rockstar talked about in the previous developer Q&A, I'm even more confident that us looter shooter fans will have another amazing game to sink our teeth into. I know myself and other people in the chats were all shocked at how great it looked. The reception was surprisingly positive even though people like Shroud are not really known for looter shooter games. Like, his community was having a good time. And even Dr. Lupo's community was cheering him on while he was carrying their team. I truly hope though that the next Insider video that should be dropping today when I'm uploading this video shows some of these features off because this is the stuff they should be advertising the game with. But without further ado, there's a lot to cover here, so let's just jump into the news about the endgame. But if there is anything that I missed from the live streams, any big info or any small little things that I missed from the live stream, let me know in the comments down below as well. So one of the cool features that was finally shown off in the live streams was the feature called Squad Talents. We covered this in the last video as well, but basically once you reach max level on one character, you unlock Squad Talents. And each time you level up after that, you will get a point that you can spend on increasing your personal stats and certain gameplay mechanics. This system is pretty much like the Paragon level in Diablo, or the Guardian rank in Borderlands 3, or even like the system Division 2 has. And each character that gets to level 30 after your first character hits max level then contributes to your overall squad level. So if you play all 4 characters and hit level 30 on all of them, you will have 120 squad points to put into your talents. So just like in Diablo and Borderlands, because the stats that you are upgrading are account-wide, the more that you play, the crazier your other characters will be. Even if you make a new character, that new character will start out with higher stats because of those squad talents. And the squad levels are infinite, but it seems like some of the squad talent nodes have a limit to how many points you can actually put into them from leveling up. Like here you can see this node will give you plus 0.5% extra XP, but at the top there, it shows 0 out of 20. So maxing this node out will give you 10% extra experience. So it seems like the main nodes here will have a limit of how many points can be put into them, but there's 2 nodes up at the top that can be upgraded infinitely as you keep gaining levels though. And the squad levels can be reset at any time, so it seems like you will really need to choose which bonuses you're applying, just like you did in Outriders and other games as well. These squad talents are yet another layer of build crafting that you can actually choose. We also got to look at the skill tree a bit closer, and 2 things stood out. 1, each skill tree for each character has special skills in them, and 2, each character has squad ultimates. So these special skills are skill tree nodes that give you the suicide strike ability or drastically change how certain skills will work, or give you huge bonuses to damage when performing certain actions or things like that. So as you get further into your skill tree by leveling up, you will continue to evolve your skills and abilities even further until you hit max level. And then each character has a squad ultimate that they can use that is acquired from that skill tree. They all unlocked it in the live stream, and the one that they all unlocked were all in the same exact spot on the skill tree and had the exact same effect to it as well. It allowed them to slow down time and stop vehicles for 30 seconds. And it seems that each character can activate this ultimate ability whenever it's actually charged up for them, but since they do the same thing, you're probably going to need to communicate with your team about who's going to use them and when, because they don't actually stack up. Which, having a bit of team coordination and communication is a huge plus for me. I love that. They also showed off a bunch of the high-end loot that you can get in the game and told us a bit more about how they work. So as we discussed in the last video, there are 7 rarities of items in the game, but some of them are locked behind the toughest content in the game. The rarities are common, uncommon, rare, epic, legendary, and finally, infamy gear sets and notorious items. They told us more about how to acquire the infamy gear sets, and they also showed us a few more examples of some of the notorious weapons that you can get in the game as well. So to acquire the infamy gear sets, you need to farm higher and higher levels of the incursion missions, which we'll go into a bit later. But as you complete higher and higher difficulties, you will be rewarded with the villain-themed weapons and armor. And if you're able to complete the higher level missions, you will unlock higher tiers of the infamy sets. And each tier of the infamy sets has their own unique bonuses to them as well. So it's actually worth farming those higher difficulty tiers for those higher tiers of infamy sets. It won't just be like a higher number thing. And because, like we mentioned in the last video, they removed gear score, so this is part of the grind, is you're actually doing these endgame missions on higher and higher difficulties, trying to unlock higher tiers of the items, and those higher tiers will just give you crazier bonuses as you go up. And it seems that some of the notorious weapons in the game will have an alternate firing mode, just like Borderlands 3 guns do. So one of the examples we saw was the Bizarro's Undeath Ray that they all had in their inventory, which the alternate firing mode for that gun needed to be charged up, but once you had the alternate firing mode charged up, you could shoot Bizarro shots that did extra damage to crazed enemies based on the number of times they were crazed by that weapon. And like we've mentioned before, the notorious items and infamy gear sets are all themed on DC villains. And so if you know the DC villains, you know just how big of a range of inspiration these items can have in the future. But one of the coolest features they showed off, maybe by accident, was villain synergies. This happens when you wear specific pieces of an infamy set belonging to one villain and use a notorious item from another villain. They can sometimes have a synergy when combined, where they give you another crazy bonus effect on top of whatever other effects they were already giving you. The one that Dr. Lupo got was between Bane and Black Mask. The synergy was called the Terror Behind the Mask, which sounds so hardcore, and it says each non-vehicular enemy that you kill builds up Terror Behind the Mask. When Terror Behind the Mask reaches 5 stacks, the next enemy that you craze deals 500% more damage while it's alive, but you also deal 500% more damage while it's alive as well. And it also consumes all 5 stacks of Terror Behind the Mask. That sounds absolutely insane, and that is on top of all of the other effects that you get from the 3-piece infamy set and the notorious gear that you would be wearing as well. They said that there would be a bunch more combinations that you could get from different villains with different items as well. Like another villain synergy that we saw was from Bane and Two-Face, and it said harvesting enemies now has a 100% chance of dropping grenade ammo and also increases your grenade damage by 100% for 20 seconds. And every time you unlock one of these, it gives you a quote from a specific comic book relating to the characters involved with your new synergy. These are just going to be just so insane. I cannot wait to see what these are going to do in the future. We also saw another feature that is care packages. These can be collected daily and are earned by killing drones in the sky that are carrying people back to Brainiac. And of course, when you collect them, you get some kind of loot and some cool currencies and stuff like that. They are part of the dailies that you can complete in the game, along with contracts that are sounding like Destiny bounties. And one of the tiny little snippets that we saw is that there will be clans in this game, which is awesome. I will definitely be making a clan for my community, so if you're looking for a clan to join at launch, you are more than welcome into my clan and my community. Whatever we end up calling it in the future, I will let you guys know when we end up making it. But now let's talk a bit about the several types of missions they'll have in the endgame. Previously, we knew about the incursion missions, where they sent you into Brainiac's Elseworlds under the protection of a Prometheum shield, and you have to fight your way through enemies and complete a certain task while the shield's up, but at a certain point, the timer of the shield ends and your shield goes down, making it so you have to fight or run your way back to the portal. These missions looked like a ton of fun, and honestly looked a bit like the Escalation Protocol events from Destiny. Each player needs to spend 1,000 Prometheum to activate the mission, and you can gain Prometheum by doing patrols, killing certain enemy types, and gathering care packages daily. In the incursions they did on stream, there were 3 rounds, each round spawning more and more enemies, and finishing the 3rd round with 3 huge behemoths that all had a ton of passive bonuses as well, and buffs and crazy things like that. The difficulty levels for the incursions can be chosen by the squad leader, and the craziest part is that the difficulty tiers go up to like Mastery 50 or higher. The ones they did on stream were only Mastery 3, and you unlock more Mastery tiers by completing incursion missions on your current max Mastery tier. This system is basically the old Greater Rift grind in Diablo 3, so if you're familiar with grinding to GR75 or something like that in Diablo 3, you'll be right at home here. The mastery levels probably cap out at like 100, but we'll have to find out when we're actually in the game when the game launches. And they did confirm though that there will be different modifiers for these incursions, not just for the enemies, but weather modifiers as well. The example they gave were storm clouds that can hit you with a lightning strike and it prevents your traversal abilities. So you have to constantly be moving to not be hit by the lightning. But then they briefly mentioned that there will be mayhem missions as well, which they said are like these longer excursions into Elseworlds, into basically Brainiac's domain, where you'll be culminating into a giant boss fight, and they're apparently incredibly difficult, which sounds like they might be similar to a Destiny Strike, Outriders Expeditions, Anthem Strongholds, or Diablo Dungeons. They will probably be the other highly farmable activities in the game, and they sound super fun. I am totally down for huge boss fights like that. And hopefully the Insider Episode 3 will show them today. I'm really hoping that's the case. And the other type of missions are the killing time missions we discussed in the last video, which are literally just a horde mode. We didn't see any gameplay of those either, sadly, but I cannot wait to see how these turn out. And one of the last things we saw was Finite Crisis Rank. We believe this to be the name of Season 0 at launch, but I'm not super confident in that, so if you know more about what the Finite Crisis Rank is, let me know in the comments down below. But it seems to deal with Brainiac in some way because you increase the Finite Crisis rank by doing incursion missions at the higher Mastery tiers. So when they completed the Mastery 3 incursion mission, they all got a bit of XP towards that rank. And of course, we also saw the large list of customizable, adjustable UI options that they have where you can turn off just so many things. So if you are one of those people who does not like the UI, does not like the clutter, you want to turn off your damage numbers, or you want to turn off the hints, or you want to turn off whatever you want, they have a ton of options for that. So anybody complaining about the UI, you have options. So overall, it seems like Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League has potential to be one of the best looter shooters we've seen in a few years. As long as they keep bringing out new endgame missions or different modes for us to play and keep the loot crazy and fun, this could be ridiculous. This is the game that we deserve after so many have tried and failed. And if you still want to learn more about the endgame for this game, I did make a video recently about that as well. We went over the developer Q&A that they had, and we learned some really cool things about the endgame from there as well. So I will leave a link to that in the card in the top right hand corner like I said earlier. But I'm curious though, how hyped are you? Are you going to grind to max mastery level? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you're new to my channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button on your way out. Like the video if you enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching. Later, nerds!